Okay, so hello. I'm back, and in this video, I'm just gonna do a little bit of talk about the sun, the light of the sun hitting each constellation, and with it doing so, how are we configuring what sign becomes what sign or the next sign based on what month it is, what time it is, and things of that nature. And I have some people that follow 13 signs astrology, some people that follow Western astrology, some people that follow Vedic astrology. And I feel like they all have their place, to be honest with you. Any type of astrology, which is really, let's get rid of the stigmas around or surrounding astrology. It's really the movement of the sun throughout the constellations, okay? And it holds major impact. And the reason why a lot of people get detoured or confused or act like it's some debate surrounding the energy from the planets. First of all, we're not really taught it publicly like that. Actually taught to go against it. We're taught to go against it while the main people that run this world uses it. They know when to use it on us. They know how to use it, and it works. And by no mistake, don't ever get it twisted. It doesn't matter what we believe when we choose to believe it. Okay? Wherever our mind is at, it doesn't stop the sun from making its way around all the constellations. And it doesn't stop the other planets from also making their way around the constellations. It doesn't stop it. Now, I can talk about many ways in which we're able to expand to other signs and other cyclings of, planets, constellations, or whatever, whenever it comes into our existence to do so, like with the 13 signs of Thesis. Ophiuchus, I think that's how you say it. I don't really say it much. That people that incorporate that in, I don't knock them for incorporating it in. But my whole point is that they all play a part. How do you choose which astrology that you should gain knowledge from? All of it plays an important part, and we can use all of these different astrology techniques to benefit ourselves. The chart is going to make up what you are, and the energy is pretty much going to play out the same depending on your chart and how you're using it. So let me explain. In astronomy, because I took astronomy in college, the way that they had, when we talked about or covered the constellations, right? The sun was placed in each constellation. Each constellation represented a month, okay? And the sun was in a constellation for a duration of that period, of that month's time span. Then it moved to the next constellation for that month's time span. But what we were learning was that even when the sun is in one constellation, the rays of the sun, some people call it reflected light, hey, we can call it whatever we want, shines its light on the next sign. Okay? So even though the sun may be in the month of May in the sign of Taurus, when it starts moving to the end of that constellation, it then shines its light, or it makes the constellation Gemini visible, and that counts as taking that energy in from the sun. And really what it's doing is it's taking a Taurus that's being faced with a lot of Gemini obstacles along its path, and it's needing to project that energy towards its path. Okay, so it gets Taurus the sun is still sitting in Taurus, but it's projecting its light towards the sign of Gemini. That means the sign of Gemini comes in, and then on a certain date, let's say we take the 20th or 21st of May, when the sun completely moves into, according to Western astrology, the sun completely moves into the next constellation of Gemini in a certain time. At a certain time, usually during that nighttime, it crosses over. It crosses over, and that's making it take on or bring in the energies from the sign of Gemini into Taurus. Now, this is the thing. Because even with that being said, you still have people, like I said, people are like, okay, well, the sun is sitting in Taurus the whole month of May. But like I said, as it moves out of one sign into the next, the sign that it was in, the qualities become weaker, but the sign that is projecting its light on is starting to come in, and it's actually very strong, because now you're having a combination of the energies coming into at the same time. Okay, so you're having Gemini, you're having Taurus, the energy coming in at the same time. Now remember, the sun shining it, or is adding energy or making the energy prominent as it shines its light on it. And this is not just the sun. This is any planet that is rotating and cycling throughout the zodiac. But I'm just using the sun for an example. Okay, because people give major credit to the sun, which is, but what I'm saying is that it's the energy that we're talking about here. That's why energy can come off of any planet. But when the energy from the sun has shined its light on the next planet, it's making the constellation visible at that point. It's in visible reach and access to that next sign. Okay. So that is why it's important not to just say, just because the sun is sitting in one constellation, but it's moving, that the other constellation does not count. It's impossible to say that through science alone, through its movement alone. And this is with any planet at any given time going from one constellation to the other constellation. And we see this play out in degrees. Okay. You're going to have, if you look at your birth chart, you're going to have a planet in the placement according to the degrees that it's in. Okay. The degrees are the position that it's in covering each sign. And I feel like with Western astrology came and shone the light on that more. Whereas Vedic astrology was more about, okay, if you're in this planet, or if you're this planet and you're in this sign, then you're sitting in this sign. The rest of the signs don't count at that point in time. Western was able to say, wait, hold on. But the degrees, from the variations of the degrees, we really see the energy being projected to that next sign as well. Okay. So we have to take that in consideration. And like I said, that's with any planet. It doesn't, we're talking about the energy of it all. So the sun, when I say the sun's light, I'm really talking about the sun's energy, even the reflected energy, however you want to put it. Okay. And when the sun, or when that planet is leaving the sign, so let's say the planet gets to the end of Gemini, but it's projecting towards Cancer. Now we have the Cancers that's coming in to the month of June as well at the end, because the energy is being projected towards that next sign. So you have the Geminis at the end of June really having to learn to master the Gemini energy to be able to go into Cancer. Whereas the ones at the beginning of June, or the ones at the end of May, is more so along the lines coming from a lot of the Taurus ways, to being able to say, yeah, I'm going to incorporate the tools of Gemini to walk along my path. Okay. But there's access to all of it. Now, here we go with the cusp. Because see, I don't know if y'all will understand what I'm saying. You could comment if you understand what I'm saying, but if you need me to do more videos on this, to break it down a lot more, I will. I don't want to put a lot of stuff in just one video, but I talk fast. Okay. So my point is this: cuspers. This is why we have the cuspers. Because cuspers show, and this cuspers is at the end of a sign and the beginning of another sign. the impacted energy from both signs, the combined energy from both signs. Okay. So I feel like if you're a cusper, you really should call yourself a cusper. But you should also look at the degrees that the planet is falling into the constellation in your chart, because you could call yourself, well, I have more one energy than the next. Because if you're a Taurus in May, but that energy is projecting Gemini, you may have a lot of Gemini traits that come up very heavy, more so than Taurus. Or you may have a lot of more Taurus traits that come up more so than Gemini. And then, like I said, I don't know if it's with the 13 signs, because I really haven't gotten to the 13 signs or whatever, but to where, like, a lot of 13 signs with Ophiuchus in there, it moves, like, for instance, Gemini would be in July. This could be Cyril. It could be, like any of it. It's like, it's in July, not like the whole, like from mid-June to mid-July, but it's still the same thing. It's still the projection of the energy into the next sign, and so forth, so forth. A lot of people go about things, like when they're chopping up the energy, they go about things in a very fixated way, and we will be very excited to learn that energy does not work that way. It goes back, forth, up, down, over, sideways. Because we, as human vessels, we really have more power over the energy than we think. But since we've learned, get it, magicians, since we've been taught backwards, or not at all, a lot of times we find the energy controls us. And as long as we stay in that state of mind to where, oh, well, you know what, la, 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 a lot of times what's going to be is going to be true to some extent. But to another extent, we have to learn to change our surroundings, change our world, change our existence according to the power that we implement into doing so. If that makes any sense. Okay. So at any given time, when a planet is moving in degrees towards the end of a sign and going into another sign, the energy of that planet is already projected into the next sign. It's fluid. It's not stop, start, stop, start. Okay. So, like I said, hopefully I made sense. I made sense of this. I learned this in astronomy. Okay. So, hopefully I made sense of this. And, yes, please share your ideas if you like, and make your comments. Subscribe, and I shall return.